Have you noticed that your adult children's visits are getting fewer and farther between? Do your phone calls feel rushed, as if they can't wait to get off the line? Believe it or not, there may be a hidden reason for this distance. It might lie in the very words you use when you speak to them. Today, I'm going to reveal 5 toxic phrases that elderly parents should never say to their adult children. The third phrase is especially destructive, so harmful, in fact, that many children simply cut off contact after hearing it repeatedly. Over the years, I've worked closely with seniors from all walks of life who came to me with one heartbreaking question: why have my kids pulled away? What I discover time and time again is that the problem is often rooted in a set of seemingly innocent remarks that can demolish a relationship from the inside out. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly which phrases to avoid and what to say instead if you want to strengthen and preserve those precious connections. Let me share the story of Louise, a 73-year-old retired school librarian from Rochester, New York. Louise had always prided herself on being a supportive mother. She raised 3 children, 2 sons and a daughter, largely on her own after her husband passed away 20 years ago. In Louise's mind, her sacrifices and unwavering devotion should have guaranteed a close-knit family in her later years. But in reality, she watched in confusion as her children gradually drifted away. Visits became sporadic. Phone calls were hurried, and she began sensing a tension she couldn't quite name. When Louise's youngest son canceled a planned weekend trip with almost no explanation, she felt devastated. She confided in a friend, who gently suggested that maybe Louise's words were pushing her children away without her realizing it. Intrigued, Louise sought out professional help. During a counseling session with Dr. Helena Ford, a geriatric family therapist, Louise had a revelation. Dr. Ford pointed out several common parental expressions that Louise used in her everyday conversations. Phrases that might sound normal or even caring but were perceived by her children as manipulative, guilt-inducing, or dismissive. Louise was stunned. She said, "All my life, I thought I was just telling them how I felt. I had no idea these words could hurt so deeply." Yet once she recognized them and made a conscious effort to communicate differently, everything changed. Within just a couple of months, 2 of her children spontaneously decided to visit her for Sunday lunch. Her daily phone chats with her daughter suddenly felt relaxed and enjoyable instead of tense and duty-bound. What were these phrases? Why are they so damaging? And more importantly, how can we replace them with something healthier? I'm going to show you the 5 most toxic statements I've encountered in my years of counseling seniors and their adult children. The third phrase on this list is especially devastating. In many cases, it leads to total estrangement, sometimes for years. Don't let that happen in your family. Let's dive in. Toxic phrase number 1. I guess I don't matter to you anymore. Now, I know how it feels when you're looking at the phone, wondering why it never rings, worrying about what your kids are up to, or if they're even thinking about you. It's tempting. Maybe you've said it yourself to come out with a phrase like, I guess I don't matter to you anymore when they finally call or show up. On the surface, it might seem like an honest expression of hurt. After all, isn't it true you feel neglected? But relationship psychologists warn that this statement plunges adult children into a vortex of guilt and frustration. Dr. Miriam Salvatore, a senior researcher at the Center for Family Communication in San Diego, explains that remarks like, I guess I don't matter to you anymore can sound accusatory, as though you're questioning your child's love and sense of responsibility. This triggers a defensive reaction. Rather than drawing them closer, guilt-based statements undermine their desire to spend time with you, because every interaction feels like a test of their affection. Consider Calvin, a 70-year-old father of 2 from Atlanta. For years, whenever his daughter Rachel came for a visit, Calvin would greet her at the door with a hug and then immediately blurt out, "So you finally remembered I exist, huh?" Or, "I guess your old dad doesn't matter as much as your friends do." Rachel admitted to her therapist that these words made her feel guilty, resentful, and unfairly judged. Over time, she started coming by less often, simply because she didn't want to endure that emotional hit. Calvin didn't realize he was pushing her away. In his mind, he was just being honest about feeling lonely. Here's a healthier approach. Instead of implying that you no longer matter, express your genuine emotions without the guilt trip. Something like, "I've missed you and appreciate every chance we get to connect. How have you been?" shifts the tone from accusation to invitation. You're still letting them know you value their presence, but you're removing the sting of blame. Simple changes like this can make an enormous difference in how your children respond and how often they want to be around you. Toxic phrase number 2. You're making a huge mistake, you'll see. This one is particularly sneaky because it often comes from a place of concern. Maybe your daughter is starting a new business that feels risky. Maybe your son is moving to a city you've heard bad things about. Or perhaps you simply can't understand why they're making certain life choices. Changing jobs, going back to school, or even parenting decisions that baffle you. In those moments, it's easy to blurt out something like, "You're making a huge mistake. You'll see," because you think you're protecting them from failure. But let me tell you, few statements can break trust more quickly. Dr. Avery King, a family communication expert at Evergreen State University, explains that saying "you'll see" fosters a sense of doom and predicts your child's downfall. It also implies that you, as a parent, know better than they ever could, thus undercutting their autonomy and sense of competence. Instead of seeing you as a supportive, loving guide, they begin to see you as a negative force that's waiting for them to fail. That's not the relationship you want. Imagine Bernice, a 68-year-old grandmother from Dallas. Her son, Travis, decided he was going to leave his stable corporate job to open a small bakery with his wife. Bernice repeatedly warned, "You're making a huge mistake. You'll see. The restaurant business is too risky." Every time Travis stopped by, Bernice gave another "I told you so" story about people she knew who'd lost money in restaurants. Eventually, Travis stopped sharing any news about his venture. He avoided telling his mother how the bakery was doing, or even that they had won a local Best Cupcakes award. For Bernice, the saddest moment came when she discovered her son was celebrating milestones without her. Through counseling, Bernice realized that her dire warnings were read as a lack of confidence in Travis's abilities. A more constructive approach is to convey your concern while affirming your child's right to make their own decisions. You might say, "I can see you're passionate about this. I do worry about the risks, but I want you to know I'm here to support you in any way I can." This way, you don't lose your voice as a parent, but you're not acting as a doomsayer who expects them to fail. Before we move on, remember that the next phrase is the one that drives many adult children to cut ties entirely. I've seen this scenario play out countless times. A parent thinks they're simply pointing out a comparison or being fair, but in reality, it creates emotional rifts that can take years to heal, if they ever do. Toxic phrase number 3. Your brother or sister never treats me like this. This is the ultimate sibling comparison, and it's a surefire way to put your adult child on the defensive. No one wants to feel like they are losing a competition for parental love. When you compare them to a sibling, especially if you're praising one child's behavior at the expense of another, you breed resentment not only toward you, but toward the sibling as well. That sibling rivalry you thought had been left behind in childhood suddenly comes roaring back, damaging relationships across the entire family. Dr. Nathan Hall, director of the Intergenerational Harmony Project in Chicago, calls sibling comparisons a fast track to estrangement. He explains that parents who use comparisons often think they're motivating one child to be more attentive by praising the other, but that tactic backfires. The adult child you're criticizing or calling out begins to feel inadequate or unfairly judged, while the favored sibling may feel guilty or pressured to maintain a certain standard to stay in your good graces. Nobody wins. Take the case of Myrtle, a 75-year-old mother of 3 from Seattle. Her middle daughter, Kim, had a demanding career in finance and couldn't visit as often as her siblings. Whenever Kim did show up, Myrtle would say things like, "You know, Valerie calls me every day. Why can't you do that?" Or, "Your brother helps me with my groceries without my even asking." While Myrtle thought she was just stating facts, Kim felt constantly attacked, as though she could never measure up. Eventually, Kim started skipping family events entirely, telling friends, "I don't need that negativity in my life." The situation deteriorated to the point where Kim barely acknowledged her mother's calls. Myrtle realized the seriousness only when Kim decided not to come for Thanksgiving. At that moment, Myrtle began searching for counseling help. She learned to replace comparisons with empathy and appreciation for each child's unique circumstances. It was a slow process, but by reframing her approach, saying things like, "I love you and miss you, and I'm always glad to see you when you can make it," Myrtle began to mend bridges with Kim. The healthier alternative to, "Your brother never treats me like this," is something like, "I value the time we do get to spend together. I know life is busy, so I appreciate any chance to connect." Let your child feel recognized for the effort they are making, instead of constantly measuring them against a sibling. Toxic phrase number 4. If you really love me, you would... Have you ever caught yourself saying this? In the heat of the moment, it can slip out so easily. Maybe you want your child to visit more often, to help out with chores around the house, or to call you on a specific schedule. So you say, "If you really love me, you do XYZ. The problem is that you're questioning the very foundation of their love. It becomes a test. Prove your love by obeying my demand. According to Dr. Lauren Mitchell, a family psychologist in St. Louis, this phrase is an advanced form of emotional blackmail. It creates a no-win situation for your adult child because it equates every refusal or inability to comply with a lack of love. The child feels trapped between their own responsibilities, work, children, personal obligations, and an implicit ultimatum that if they don't fulfill your request, they're failing as a son or a daughter. Don, a 72-year-old widower from Portland, Oregon, struggled with this habit. He would say to his son, "If you really love me, you'd help me clear out the garage," or "If you really cared, you'd drop by at least twice a week." Over time, his son started feeling that every interaction was a test he could never pass. The sad result was that his son visited less and less, bracing himself for more guilt-laden remarks each time. When they finally spoke openly about it, his son confessed, "Dad, I do love you, but I can't meet your every demand the way you want me to. That doesn't mean I don't care. I'm just exhausted from always being told I'm failing you." A more constructive way to express your desires is, "I love our time together. It means so much when you can visit or help me around the house. Are there ways we can make that easier to arrange?" Notice how this phrasing keeps love out of the crosshairs and focuses on a practical solution or compromise. Your child no longer feels like they're under constant evaluation. Toxic phrase number 5. I won't be around much longer, you know. Few statements pack as potent an emotional punch as referencing your own mortality. It's natural to worry about how many good years you have left, especially if you're dealing with health concerns. Yet turning that mortality into a bargaining chip, hinting that your children should visit or call more often because I won't be around much longer, creates a dynamic of fear and guilt. And in most cases, it backfires. Dr. Kelly Ruiz, a gerontologist and family counselor at the University of Maryland, says that seniors who make statements like, "I won't be around much longer, you know," are often expressing a genuine fear of being forgotten or of missing out on important family moments. But to the adult child, it sounds like emotional blackmail. Instead of wanting to spend more time with you out of genuine affection, they might start avoiding you to escape the heavy guilt or the discomfort of confronting mortality at every turn. Rosalind, a 79-year-old grandmother from Tampa, Florida, found this out the hard way. Whenever her children couldn't attend a holiday gathering or miss a family birthday, she would respond, "Well, I hope you don't regret this when I'm gone," or "I won't be around forever, you know. I'm not getting any younger." Her daughter eventually told her, "Mom, it hurts to be reminded all the time that you could pass away. I feel pressured, and it makes me want to avoid those conversations altogether." After some heart-to-heart discussions, Rosalind finally recognized that her tactic of using mortality as leverage was only pushing her children further away. A better approach is to be honest about your feelings. Maybe you're lonely. Maybe you do want more frequent visits, but do so without invoking the specter of death. Instead, try, "I cherish every moment we share, and I hope we can make more time for each other." This positive framing communicates your desire to connect without turning into a threat or guilt trip. Now, let's talk about why these phrases are so destructive and how they can creep into everyday conversations without you even realizing it. Recent neuroscience studies at Cambridge University indicate that when adults hear accusatory, guilt-based, or fear-based language from a parent, the stress response in their brains is triggered, similar to when faced with physical threat. Over time, this stress response leads to avoidance. Your child may not consciously say, "I'm gonna cut off mom or dad," but subconsciously, they begin to minimize contact to preserve their own well-being. The irony is that most parents who use these phrases have no intention of pushing their children away. In fact, they're often desperate to bring them closer. Yet the language of guilt, fear, and comparison sets off a chain reaction of emotional withdrawal. This is why it's so critical to identify these toxic expressions and replace them with constructive, loving, and respectful alternatives. You might be thinking, these phrases have slipped out of my mouth before. Is it too late to fix things? The good news is that it's almost never too late. As Dr. Ford often tells her clients, awareness is a first step toward healing. Once you recognize the damaging patterns in your communication, you can begin to change them. Here's a simple 3-step approach that many family therapists recommend. First, practice self-awareness. Notice your emotions right before you speak. Are you feeling lonely, worried, underappreciated? Acknowledging that feeling can help you avoid masking it in a toxic phrase. Second, pause and replace. When you catch yourself about to say one of these harmful statements, take a deep breath, then reframe. If you're about to say, "I guess I don't matter," switch it to, "I really miss you and appreciate you taking the time to see me today." That small pause can be transformative. Third, focus on the positive. Instead of lamenting what you don't have, like fewer calls or visits than you prefer, emphasize gratitude for what you do get. Express genuine thanks for the moments you share, and see if that doesn't gradually encourage your kids to reach out more often. Let me give you another example of how this shift can change everything. Howard, a 76-year-old retired engineer from Sacramento, felt abandoned by his daughter, who lived in another state. He was used to seeing her every weekend back when she was younger. When she moved away to pursue her career, Howard found himself repeatedly saying, "You're making a huge mistake. You'll see. One day you'll regret not living near family." Over time, those words, along with guilt-laden phone calls, made his daughter withdraw further. She even stopped visiting for Christmas. Howard's friend suggested a counseling group for parents of adult children. Through listening to others, Howard realized he was alienating his daughter with his doomsday predictions. He practiced a new approach, acknowledging her achievements in her career, telling her he was proud, and offering emotional support. The next time his daughter mentioned a big project, instead of warning her that she was bound to fail, he said, "I trust your judgment. Let me know if there's anything I can do to help." He reported feeling awkward at first, but the change was dramatic. His daughter started calling more often, sharing details of her life, and even began scheduling visits a couple of times a year. The tension melted away when she stopped feeling that she had to defend her life choices on every call. Change like this isn't always immediate, and it often requires perseverance. Your children may be skeptical at first, especially if they've grown used to certain toxic patterns. They might even test you to see if this new approach is just a phase. But if you remain consistent, showing love without guilt, concern without condemnation, and admiration without comparison, you'll gradually rebuild trust. Now, let's talk about creating a positive environment once you've dropped these toxic phrases. Consider introducing small acts of kindness and interest. Ask genuine questions about your child's life without criticism. Compliment them on things they've done well. Share uplifting stories from your own day-to-day experiences. Shift the focus away from what they should be doing for you and move it on to enjoying each other's company. Quality relationships thrive on mutual respect and authentic connection, not obligation or fear. One essential point is to respect boundaries. Adult children often juggle jobs, marriages, friends, hobbies, and possibly children of their own. While you are indeed a huge priority, you're not their sole focus. Just like in your younger years, you had multiple responsibilities to manage. Acknowledging their autonomy goes a long way. For example, rather than demanding a phone call every night, ask, "Is there a day or time that works well for you to chat each week?" This small shift shows that you recognize they have a busy schedule and that you want to cooperate, not dictate. Another key aspect is to create new traditions. Maybe the weekly Sunday dinner that worked in the past is no longer feasible if the kids live far away or have hectic jobs. Adapt by hosting a monthly Zoom chat or a biannual family vacation where everyone can gather more comfortably. Being flexible and open to change demonstrates that you respect your children's evolving lives. In return, they'll often be more receptive to your wishes. In Louise's case, remember our Thai librarian from Rochester, she rebuilt connections with her 3 children by inviting them to share parts of their daily routines with her in a non-judgmental way. Her daughter, who was a nurse, started texting pictures from her shift, non-patient related of course, to show Louise a glimpse of her world. Louise responded with encouragement and genuine interest. She stopped framing these interactions as "you never call me" or "I guess I don't matter," and replaced them with gratitude. "Thank you for sharing a piece of your life with me. I feel closer to you." Soon enough, this created a warm cycle of communication. Instead of obligation, her kids felt they were interacting with someone who truly cared and supported them. This leads to a final reminder. It's never too late to make a change. Whether you're in your 60s, 70s, 80s, or beyond, you have the power to alter your communication style and revitalize your bond with your adult children. Will it solve every family conflict? Of course not. There are deeper issues, past traumas, and complexities in every family dynamic. But eliminating these 5 toxic phrases is a massive step forward. At the very least, you stop adding more fuel to the fire. As we close, I encourage you to take a moment and reflect on your most recent interactions with your children. Did you say anything that might have inadvertently caused hurt? If so, don't beat yourself up. Recognizing the mistake is the first step. Apologize if necessary. Then commit to avoiding, "I guess I don't matter." You're making a huge mistake. You'll see, "Your brother never treats me like this. If you really love me, you'd," and "I won't be around much longer, you know," in the future. Instead, voice your wishes, fears, and concerns in a way that shows love without demanding it back as a payment. Your children will sense the difference, and many will respond in kind. They might not immediately say, "Oh, thanks for not guilt-tripping me." But you'll notice in the way they open up, call more often, or plan more visits. Building and maintaining loving relationships at this stage of life can be a challenge, but it's a challenge worth taking on. If you found today's insights helpful, please share them with other seniors who might be unwittingly damaging their family ties. Leave a comment below letting me know which phrase surprised you the most or which one you've heard or said recently. It can be tough to admit to using guilt or fear tactics, but trust me, you're not alone. Many loving parents fall into these patterns because they desperately want to hold on to that family bond. The good news is, by becoming aware of these phrases and actively replacing them with healthier alternatives, you can begin to repair even the most strained connections. Thank you for joining me today to talk about this crucial topic, your relationship with your adult children. Remember, it's never too late to rewrite the script and start a new chapter of open, guilt-free, and mutually respectful communication. I'll see you in the next video, where we'll discuss more practical strategies for nurturing those valuable family ties in your golden years. Until then, stay well, stay hopeful, and stay open to learning new ways to express your love. Your kids and you deserve nothing less.